If you've ever designed a 9mm modular handgun system for the sole purpose of widespread military and law enforcement adoption, but once your handgun was adopted by said militaries and law enforcement agencies, they simply would not stop going off uncommanded in holsters, allegedly, then go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. Today we're going to be discussing yet another SIG uncommanded discharge in a holster at a USPSA match, as well as my conclusions in every single round breakdown fired that I have ever fired through an M17, M18, or P320 variant handgun, and my final conclusions at the time of filming this video on what my recommendations are to my audience. Okay, so we'll cover the story, we'll cover all that, and we'll get into it. If you want to support the channel, all that I ask that you do, as always, is just literally hit the like button, as that is a free concept and tells like-minded viewers just like you and I, hey, there's this weirdo sitting in his Bronco talking about Sig Sauer, and you might want to come check it out. Additionally, leave your combat llama emojis down below, as that is a sacrifice to the algorithm, a god that we do not understand, but we must give our llama sacrifices to. And let me know if you guys want merch down the road. It might be something I'll consider maybe in a few months, okay? So, without further ado, at a USPSA match, an Area 3 regional match, there was a couple that was shooting the match, and this is all the reports that I have from multiple viewers of the channel. Thank you for sending in the DMs on Instagram. You guys have let me know that there is a couple that attended a match, and the female went to, on the command to load and make ready, she simply loaded her Sig Sauer P320 handgun and was holstered with said handgun, one in the chamber, and after being told to load and make ready with her not touching the weapon at all, the handgun allegedly has gone off in the holster. Now, the husband has stated that he's fired upwards of 80,000 rounds through his Sig Sauer handguns and has had no issues, but this moment has changed his opinion from what I'm being told on the issue and on the handgun as a whole. Obviously, if his significant other had a loaded P320 in the holster, that they had fired, I think, upwards of 12,000 rounds on that particular gun at that time. And then, so they trust the handgun, they trust SIG, you know, generally speaking, at the time before the incident. She has the handgun holstered up, and it goes off allegedly on its own. Now, no video evidence has been presented to the channel as of the time of filming this video. However, I am suspecting that if this incident, you know, if more and more reports, the range officer has said it actually happened, witnesses have said it actually happened, and of course the female that had the handgun, you know, holstered said it happened. With all these individuals, credible sources, you know, it's definitely looking credible at the time of filming this video. So, more to follow on that. But why is this important to you? Well, if you've been living under a rock, you know that hundreds, potentially thousands of ranges have dropped the SIG, hopefully not literally, but have dropped the SIG P320 and the M17 from being used at their facilities, their training, whatever. Additionally, both ICE, the FBI, and most respected law enforcement agencies, except for the Texas Department of Safety, I can do a whole video on that, but most respected agencies have moved away from the Sig Sauer P320 and M17 platform, okay, as of the time of filming this video. As well as the United States Air Force has had significant issues and investigations on their M18 handguns. If you guys remember, out of the 40,000 they inspected, I believe nearly 200 of those had major safety defects inside the handgun. Okay, so a lot of issues have been discovered with the internal safety mechanisms on the Sig Sauer P320 by multiple different agencies. Now, why is this important? Well, This all started when the United States Army adopted the 6-hour M17 modular handgun system for roughly $185 per unit. Now, why is this important as we transition to my, I guess, personal opinions, keeping in mind that I don't represent any organization, I don't represent the War Department, I don't represent the United States Army in any way. I am simply speaking as an individual on my own platform here, not to represent any agency or department. At the time of procuring the M17, it was for $185. Now that beat out the Glock pistol submission that was roughly $225 to $260 per unit. Obviously, the Glock was a little bit more expensive per unit, and that adds up significantly when you're getting thousands and thousands of these things. However, if we look back long term, we don't know where we would be if the U.S. Army and the Marines and all of the War Department had, or the Department of Defense at the time, had adopted the Glock submission. However, I think we can all speculate that whether they went with the Beretta M9A4 or the Glock 19X, I think there would be a lot less issues at the time, or alleged issues at the time of filming this video. Keep in mind, there are 3.5 million, probably more, but 3.5 million P320s in holsters worldwide. Okay, that's a lot of guns that are out there being used both professionally and by people just like you, if you're a civilian watching this, to defend their families and their loved ones and themselves. So keep those numbers in mind. 3.5 million are in circulation everywhere, 185 per unit. Let's move on to my personal experiences with the handgun, because I crunched the numbers and came to a total amount that I have fired personally while holding an M18, M17, or P320, and I'm going to break it down Barney style in each and every category. But I think this is just a good note, a good litmus test on just one person's experience having shot it professionally, privately, and competitively now extensively in all three regions. Okay. I want to kind of go over something too, as 6-Hour has changed their tone recently with videos explaining the internal safety mechanisms and internal safety features on the pistol. They've changed their tone from, hey, you're wrong, for 6-Hour it ends today, to now they're more in the camp of, hey guys, this is what's going on with the gun. This is how the gun works. You know, them trying to softly explain their side of the story. Okay. Now keep in mind, 6-Hour as a company is worth roughly $682 million to $1.36 billion, based on what estimate you choose to take. So with those two numbers in mind, 682 million and $1.36 billion estimated is their net worth of 6-Hour. You would think that with all that in mind, they would have the capability to do a soft recall or even a deliberate recall, fix whatever safety mechanisms are occurring inside the handgun if they know what it is, and then release it back to the force or back to the general public. Let's go over some numbers. Now, as many of you guys know, I am now a marksmanship master trainer after graduating the 5-week course down in Fort Benning, Georgia. That was a great course. And now that I've earned the title of Marksmanship Master Trainer, I can speak a little bit more freely about my personal experiences in said course. Again, not representing the War Department or anything, but you guys know that I've been in the infantry now for 12 and a half to 13 years. So I have a lot of experience that I can speak from or draw from while not representing those organizations. I can draw from my personal experience. And what I can tell you is, both as a drill sergeant and instructor, and now I'm Marksmanship Master Trainer, and an EIC, Excellence in Competition badge holder, and roughly a B class shooter in USPSA as of yesterday, right? So having all that experience and having attended the Marksmanship Master Trainer course, There were roughly 30 students, okay, there were exactly 30 students that fired roughly 3,000 rounds through their M17 service pistol during that course. There were roughly 6 to 7, give or take, instructors that also fired roughly 3,000 rounds per pistol. So if you take 3,000 round average, per pistol throughout the 5-week course, 3,000 rounds per pistol, 36 shooters, 36 M17s. That's 36 times 3. You get 108,100,115 grain plus P bullets, 9mm bullets, right? Why is that 108,000 rounds important? Well, out of those 108,000 rounds that I witnessed personally in that 5-week course, we had I don't know of anyone that had more than one malfunction or any malfunctions. I personally didn't see any malfunctions at all, other than some guys having to tap the back of the slide to get it to go back into battery when the guns got really, really dirty. So 36 M17s, 5 weeks, 3,000 rounds, probably more, but on a conservative number, 3,000 rounds per pistol, 108,000 rounds, we'll just say 110 to keep it round, a rough number. 110,000 rounds is a good test, a good litmus test for the M17, and we had absolutely no issues at all that I witnessed during that course, okay? Again, just my private, personal opinions, right? From just a dude, right? Just a dude that's been doing this for a long time. Let's move on. I have fired, now I'm going to go over my personal, okay? My personal experiences with the 6-hour M17. I have fired 12,000 rounds during testing on the trench grenade channel, specifically through an M17 doing burn down tests, torture tests. I fired 12,000 rounds through an M17 and M18 pistol combined just on this channel alone. On top of that, I fired the 3,000 rounds at the Marksmanship Master Trainer course. On top of that, I fired 5,000 rounds for an I-Corps train up for the I-Corps marksmanship competition in roughly, I would say, 2019 or 2020. And then the following year, I fired another 5,000 rounds through an M17 pistol through the I-Corps championship again. Additionally, I fired 1,000 rounds in Fort Riley, Kansas through an M17 pistol over the course of a week to help field the pistols for service back in roughly 2016 to 2018 time frame, sometime in there. And then I fired 2,000 rounds with a P320 compact in the 2020 to 2021, because it was around COVID timeline. I fired roughly 2,000 rounds through a SIG P320 compact, had no issues with that gun either. In total, and I just realized a marksmanship competition, EIC, so we'll just say conservatively, right? Through all that, because I've earned my Excellence in Competition badge outside of all that with it. And I've also competed at the United States Army Small Arms Championship with an M17. So my previous number was 33,000. You could say conservatively that I've fired 36,000 rounds through P320s, M18s, and M17 handguns, okay? We'll say conservatively I have fired 36,000 rounds. So what are my conclusions? After all those rounds, what my personal opinion is that the guns work. The guns work. That has never been in question for me. Now, have I seen issues where when you do a chamber check, you have to tap the back of the slide to get them to go back into battery? 100%. If you do a what's called a status check or a chamber check, which you should always conduct a status check or a chamber check on an M17 or P320 variant pistol, because when that loaded chamber indicator, or LCI, when that loaded chamber indicator gets dirty, it does not want to actuate properly, thus creating issues where you should not trust the loaded chamber indicator on top of the pistol. You should do a manual inspection, check the MMTC handbook, or using a push-pull technique, the back of the slide and the thumb on the back strap, or simply wrap, if I had the gun like this, simply push-pull on the front serration, conduct a chamber check, and tap the back of the slide. The point being, in that nearly 40,000 rounds worth, 36,000, but 40,000 rounds worth of testing, shooting, competing, using for training, using for work. You know, I didn't even include mandatory qualifications when I was a Bradley crew member. So easily upwards of 40,000 rounds. You know, the more I talk, the more I think, wow, I've shot a lot more rounds with these guns than I think. Upwards of 40,000 rounds, and the guns just work. They do. However, just like the individual in this USPSA case where his wife had the gun go off allegedly in her holster, and all of these officers and service members that have had issues, the guns are phenomenally reliable. And I would even go as far to say, based on my personal testing here on the Trench Grenade channel, the guns are more reliable than a Glock 19 Gen 5. Okay, utilizing the same exact testing, the SIG M17 and the SIG M18 are more reliable than a Glock 19 Gen 5 in the same exact test. Now, keep in mind, that's just like mud testing. That's just my testing, right? But what I've never ever heard of in my lifetime, okay, in my lifetime, is of a Glock pistol going off in the holster or going off without a full, complete trigger pull. Okay, emphasis on a complete action. So while I can firmly say in my upwards of 40,000 rounds with the M18, M17, and P320, with my extensive experience with the pistols, even though I do like them, there will always be an issue in the back of my mind that what if this thing goes off in the holster? Even though I've never seen it, even though I've never experienced it, the internet and the rumors and all the stuff going on leads me to believe that if I had to give a piece of advice to you, if you can afford a Glock 17 Gen 5 or a Glock 47, that would be my first pick for you, okay? Now, if you're in the camp of, well, Trench, they're on sale, there's a ton of them out here for, like, who knows, I'm not going to say the price because I don't want to get, in trouble here, but there's a bunch of them out there for super cheap, and if you can legally acquire that, and you just heard me tell you that I have never personally experienced an issue, then maybe it's right for you, okay? So that is where I kind of draw the conclusions at. For me, I carry a Glock 17. For me, when my life is on the line, I currently carry a Glock 17 with Trijicon HD night sights, the big, green and yellow front sight, and an X300, Surefire X300 with Talon grip tapes. That's what I choose to carry. So I guess if you've got this far in the video, just because I haven't had an issue doesn't mean that no issues exist. And there's been plenty of cases at this point that have been brought up that we can all conclude, and I think probably, not speaking for them, but I think even 6 Hour can probably conclude that there is something wrong with the design, with the quality control, with the internal safeties, with the modular handgun aspect where you can put a 357 SIG or 40 caliber or 10 millimeter inside of a fire control unit, inside of a 9 millimeter, or I think it's the 45 ACP that also you can take out and put in. Due to the design, the modular design of this handgun, that is also the bane of its existence. Is also the issue with the pistol from what I can conclude at the time of this video, okay? So, all that to say, in summary, there's been another incident, allegedly, of a gun going off in a holster. This is like, who knows how many incidents, right? Hundreds at this point. Hundreds of incidents. I'd have to get the Notebook of Truth back out to figure out the actual incident, but for a nearly $1 billion net worth company, to have a modular handgun system that is widely adopted by so many agencies. At this point, I would hope that there is a solution on the way, okay? Because for guys like me that have shot so many rounds, if they were to come out and say, hey, we're sorry, we figured it out, here's the fix, send your gun in, we'll fix it. In the short term, you're looking at probably millions and millions of dollars up front in costs of return and shipping costs and, to get all that squared away. Or if it's an easy fix, maybe the end user can fix it. But I think it's time that we find a way to make all users comfortable with the gun. Because a lot of guys right now probably listening to this are time thefting and are forced to carry this gun professionally, right? So, in summary, use this information for what you will. I choose a Glock 17, but that's not to say that there's been any issues in the 40,000 rounds that I've fired through the guns, right? So use that information what you will. Have a good day. If you got this far in the video, leave a thumbs up emoji, right? Just let me know, hey Trench, I got to the end of the video. I enjoyed the discussion. It was helpful. If it was helpful, let me know. And if this helps in your decision-making process, that's kind of my goal, is to kind of try to help you guys out. But let me know what you guys think about all the SIG drama. Thanks for being here. And until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade, your average, another day and another SIG incident video enjoyer that your mom says that we have at home, signing out.